Where are you losing grasp of everything and have zero awareness of where the fuck you are?
And what you allow to come in your mind controls your fucking heart. Get up! A man's word right now doesn't mean shit. Imagine if you just have that in your life. You have the truth and you have honor. That everything that comes out of your fucking mouth, you do it. That you do the shit that you said you're gonna do.
Welcome to the Warrior Week podcast. I am Coach Max. This is our coach, Coach Sam. How you doing today, Coach?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Very good. I wanted to talk to you today about the problem of awareness. And more I'm seeing men with this lack of awareness of what true masculinity is, what the idea of being a man is in their household, at work, and fucking just in general in life. There's just like a lack of awareness of what that fucking means.
You know, it's a very important topic that you're pointing at. And so for us even to dive deep and start investigating this observation, which is true 100%, the question that we need to ask is really, what does it even fucking matter for the guy to be aware? Right? So, before getting into and breaking down and what is masculinity, what is being a man, before doing all that effort, right? Let's ask a better question. Why would it even matter for a man today, for masculinity or being a man, for it to matter? Without even defining that. Because that's where the awareness that needs to be. The awareness needs to be that it matters that masculinity matters. It matters that being a man matters. But it seems that most men have checked out on even the why, that why even matters. Forget the definition. And we will spend time in definition because the definition actually does matter. But the attitude is like checked out, man. The attitude is checked out. The attitude is an attitude of being entertained, but whatever the next shiny object is. The attitude is an attitude of just completely being distracted. Men are distracted today by anything that goes. Anything that goes, from a social media perspective, from news, from anything that's happening, we are constantly distracted.
You feel, Coach, that not only are men distracted, that they just have lack of certainty, lack of control of the environment, or just not wanting to.
I would say lack of control, but I would reframe it and say it's really finding themselves in a position where they can't really grasp control over anything, and so they're not committed to a structure. Right? Think about as simple as getting committed to a schedule, right? You come to work and, rather than say I come to work, I do, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 8 to 6, 8 to 8, whatever your gig is, right? It doesn't matter. If I don't have a schedule that runs the activity of the day, I end up doing whatever I want, right? I end up doing whatever that I feel that is important, and distraction is going to play a role in there versus committing to a schedule and saying, hey, I'm in control by putting the schedule in control. That happens all the time to me where, if the schedule is there, everything happens. If the schedule is not there, most of the time the distraction wins, man.
Yeah, you see that for men at the house, in their house, when they're supposed to be home, being aware of what's going on, because there's not a schedule there, and they're just, oh, hey, I have the kids now. And then there's this lack of being focused, a lack of being with them, the lack of being present.
The lack of being present, which means the focus is not expanded on. The focus is everywhere. The focus is on the kids. The focus is on social media. The focus is on TV. The focus is on themselves. The focus is purely defined by the environment, and the environment doesn't have any structure around it. And I'm not saying that we have to come in. A home has to be a place that needs to be structured. It's the one place that you actually want to unwind and want to feel at the most comfortable and joyful. But inside of that, I mean, if you want to focus on the kids and it becomes all about, the kids and nothing else, then somebody's getting ignored there. Your wife is getting ignored there. Whatever else is going on in the house gets. But so to have a schedule, to have an ordinance, to have a structure, it matters. Because if not, you're going to get distracted.
Yeah, it seems that a man not only has a struggle with the actual schedule, they also have a struggle with structure.
Yep.
And the ability to speak up in regards to a structure.
Yep.
So that I see a constant unawareness of like, hey, this is how I'm going to do my job. This is what I'm going to do today, A, B, and C. And then they get there and then they allow external things to just fucking blow it apart.
100%. And the key word is allow. And they allow because there's no consequences. When there are consequences, no man allows anything because they're aware of the consequences. When the consequences is not defined, when the consequences are not today, but sometime in the future, distance, then everything is allowed.
It just gives it an open playing field.
Open playing field. That's what it is. So, how like that's a very good example. How can you be aware in an open field, man?
Yeah, you can't. You can't. And then what's the opposite of that? So the other thing that I see is, okay, I'm unaware. I'm in this fucking field. And then suddenly now, instead of confronting this, I'm just going to sit the fuck down. Turn
around, sit down. What's the point anyway?
And that goes back to exactly what you're saying of like, you have to define it. Is it, does a man just have a lack of willing to face consequences? Does a man
100%? That is the primary source of all. We have our primary problem is that we don't like consequences. So because we don't like consequences, we'll end up doing whatever we want or whatever we can justify as what we want. The freer the country, the more you can do that. Here in the United States, freedom is like, you got it, man. Some other countries, man can't do the shit that we do here.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like poverty. People talk about poverty, and I'm like, unless you've been to South America, or unless you've been to Egypt, unless you've been to other parts of the world.
Third world countries.
Yeah, you have zero fucking idea what poverty is.
You can have the perspective of poverty living in not living in a third world country. You have to see third world country, what it looks like. Or else you don't have the perspective. Even that if you say, well, we grew up poor and living in a third world country is a complete different thing.
Living poor and growing up here. Yes.
Yeah, you might have lived poor financially, but you didn't live poor with your freedom of thinking, your freedom of speech. And you don't know what poor is. Because if we define poor as only just financially being poor or growing up hungry, that's not it. The growing up poor way of thinking is sadly worse than growing up without food or without money.
And then that brings me back to a full circle. Is now the more and more I'm thinking about this and in this conversation, a man is unaware because he's poor. He is poor.
Poor in character.
Poor in character.
Poor in character. And why is he poor in character? Well, a lot has to do with his childhood and where he was brought up and what was his education was and who was his father. I mean, if your father is not around, you're already robbed by default, man. And you grew up without a father, you're already robbed 50%.
Yeah,
you're poor, man. You grew up with a father. Listen, bro, you're poor. And you're like, oh, well, I grew up without a father, but I made it happen. I had a father figure, or I'm not poor. I get it. I'm not saying you are poor now, but I'm saying you were poor. And for many of you, maybe you still are poor, but you're pretending that you're not poor. It's hard growing up without a father, man.
Yes, very hard. And the awareness of it is almost creates more of that lie. Like what you just said is like, okay, maybe you were poor before, or you might be poor now, but don't want to fucking face it.
If you're poor in character because your father wasn't around, you need to get around men, and you need to have a fellowship, and you need to catch up. You need to develop your character. You need to be aware of masculinity. You need to know that what is being a man is. Being a man is not going to the gym and putting fucking tattoos and running around shooting guns. That doesn't make you a man. Like, you need to define what being a man is, and you need to understand that it matters to operate as a man or not to pretend as a man. So all these things are related to the absence of the father. The absence of the father makes a man very poor in character. And sometimes the presence of a father that is an absent father is the same thing. You might have grown up with your dad, but your dad never told you shit. Never give you a counsel. Your dad completely ignored you most of your life, but he was there. He paid for the food. He paid for the diapers. He paid for everything, but he never poured into you. You're poor.
Yeah, and you're seeing that more and more in the modern man. This man that's around now in society is almost exactly what you're saying, but even more destructive because he won't take a stand.
100%.
He won't stand for fucking shit.
Here's an example. If your dad haven't taught you about money, who did? And what was the lesson? Most men won't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
Most men won't. They'll have some generic answer to shit that they saw in videos. Oh, my business taught me about. No, business is not a person. I'm saying, did your dad taught you about money? No. Okay. So then you grew up poor in the knowledge and understanding about money. It doesn't mean that you didn't find out how to make money. It's just that was missing. Now you can catch up. Because it's not about your bank account, whether you made it or you didn't make it, but it's about your character. Money is not about the amount that you have. Money is about the character and the understanding around it and how you develop a relationship with it, how you spend it, how you give it, how you take it, how you manage your how you manage your greed, how you manage your greed. All of this, all your relationship around money defines the character, the component of your character when it comes around money. Same thing with growing up with women. How do you treat a woman?
Yeah.
I mean, if your dad haven't shown you or haven't taught you how you do, where do you get the information?
Yeah, if you grew up in a household that fought a lot, if you grew up in a household that one of your parents cheated on the other, yes, absolutely. That in itself creates the generational, again, what we always talk about is this generational wealth, and then really the generational character, right? Like, if I can develop my character and I can catch it up, I can actually be aware of what the fuck I'm going to pass on to my kids.
That's right. And men need men to develop character. It's not your woman that is going to develop your manly character. Let's just put that very straight. That your woman is there, your mom is there, your sister, they all pour into the entire growth ecosystem as a helper. But men need other men to co-develop manly character, period. You do not co-develop manly character with another woman. It doesn't work that way. You can justify it by itself. There's so much contradiction in that logic that the foundation of your argument will crumble apart because it cannot be true.
No, it's not. It's not the same. It's not the same. We don't have the same things we have to overcome. We don't have the same hormonal issues. We don't have the same. There's a lot of missing parts in there that need to be addressed, or being around another council of men. That's the other thing that men are not aware of, is the importance of a council.
Not only not aware of, they don't care for it. Their council has become a council of women. And this is not a conversation of men against women. This is a reality that we're living in. You can, as a man, you cannot develop manly character with counsel of women.
Yes.
Oh, my therapist, I've been seeing my therapist for 5 years and she's helping me. 5 years, bro? 5 years you're talking about the same fucking shit? 5 years? Something is wrong somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Again, like you're saying, is going to, a man doesn't even want to be involved with the council, doesn't understand the importance, because what happens is the feedback loop, right? I go and tell somebody my idea. You're like, Max, that's a fucking shitty idea. Check. Okay. I go and tell somebody else, another man it. They tell me, hey, that's a fucked up idea. Okay. Now I have good insight. By myself, I have fucked up insight.
Nothing. What do you have? Just your own. You have your own justification.
Yes. Which in turn goes back to not seeking counsel and not being aware, because if it fails, then I can fucking play the victim.
Lonely men have the counsel of their wife and the internet. That's what men that are alone have, the counsel of their wife and the internet. That's all. Because there's a lack of fellowship and brotherhood and manly character in their lives. And they seem to be okay for it because for some reason, they're not even aware that why would it matter that they have manly counsel? Nobody checks them up and say that's a problem. In fact, you got your neighbor that says, yeah, that's what I'll do too. That's what I'm doing too. And now misery finds misery and they think they're right, but it's not.
No, the most I've ever excelled inside of any type of development, whether it's in sports, whether it's in education, whether it's just in being a fucking man, it's always revolved around being other men.
100%. And again, your wife plays an important role. She builds life with you. She helps you build life. She plays critical role in her rebellions and in everything that she does. It actually helps you make better decisions. Ultimately, for counsel, you need a manly counsel to grow in manly character. We're not talking about a counsel of, hey, should we buy this house? That's not growing in manly character. You want to grow your character as a man, you need other men around you. And you need other honest men, not men who are going to take advantage of you, not men that are going to pretend to be around you because they need your money or they need something from you.
Yeah, they need the kudos or they need that a boy. It seems like that's the other one that's seeked out.
Or the popularity or whatever that is.
Yeah.
You need selfless men around you.
Well, fuck, that really what the three main components of a good teammate is someone that's willing to work. If you fucking work, I'm into it. If you do what's specified, whatever your skill is, and you do what you're told to do and you do it well and you don't make any excuses when you fuck it up, great. That's the second thing. The last thing is selflessness.
Yeah.
If you have those three components, if you're the fucking one that you wait for me because I'm behind, you help me, we get moving together. That's a good team.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for inside of this manly character.
And that's what service is. You're serving by working and by having a skill. You can't really serve if you have no skill.
Yeah. Zero skill.
You
zero
gotta
service.
have skills. You actually gotta do the serving. And the act of serving is that you're serving somebody else, not yourself. Well, those are the three components that you just defined.
Yeah. Well, even now I'm even thinking more, even the lack of this awareness is that now I get separated. And then in turn, there's less and less that I can actually voice, less and less that I can control because I'm isolated. I'm by myself.
Isolated. I'm going to serve myself other than serving others. So the more I serve myself, the more I'm not aware of anything that I need to be.
I'm fucking asleep. I'm completely asleep.
Checked out.
Check.
And at the end, you know what? I'm taking care of my family. My life is good. Then, I'm a good guy. That's the conclusion of a man that is alone. That's a conclusion of a poor man in character.
That's a lack that, this awareness, and if this is fucking bringing now some awareness to you, good. If it's not, well, fuck, man, you got to wake the fuck up. You got to realize and recognize that there is a time and a calling that needs to happen. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of what's happening with you and your wife. You have to be aware of what's happening with your fucking kids. You have to be aware of what's happening inside of your business. How many guys do you know? Because I know a shitload of them. They start growing. They hand off their accounting to somebody. They don't pay attention to it. They go somewhere else. That goes into a shit show, and then they're fucked.
Distraction.
Same thing with their kids. They take their kids to school. They drop them off, whether it's private, public, doesn't matter, indifferent. Leave them there. Hope for the best. And fucking...
Boredom is a serious problem for men. Men get bored of the basic things, so they get distracted. And ultimately, their foundation collapses because they have now delegated the basic things to other people, and they have zero awareness of its growth.
Fuck, the relationship with a wife. You pursue her, you get her, you marry her. Oh, fuck, this is rough.
Yeah, bored.
I don't like our relationship.
But how many guys would just... in their tonality, in the way they talk, in the way they refer to it, it is disgusting to hear it and witness it as men identify their married life as some kind of boring status of their life.
Yeah.
Whether they mean it or it doesn't mean it, that they're just used to find camaraderie in agreeing that, you know, at the beginning was amazing, and 10 years, 20 years into it, it becomes this.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest one of my biggest triggers. When somebody tells me that they're like the ball and chain, or my wife really drags me down, I want to fucking lose my mind.
I leave the room. I've learned. I used to sit around the table and be polite and say, you know, just whatever. Hey man, listen, man, I don't have to be sitting around the table with a fucking pussy. And if you want to take that standard for yourself and identify yourself, I just don't have to be. I don't have the tolerance and the patience to sit there and accept this. This is an untrained man. This is a man that has given up on his character and his masculinity. I want to be surrounded with men that actually cherish their wife after 20 years, the same way they did on their first date. Not by taking them out or buying them jewelries and this and that, by the way they speak of them.
Yeah.
And we don't get that many men nowadays, man.
Well, and that's the taking the stand. Taking the stand. I fucking take a stand. Hey, you know, like, you got to figure the fucking what's going on with your wife, because I'm fucking happy where I'm at. Do we battle? Yes. Do we have issues? Yes. Do we love each other? Do I still love her and I'm just as passionate in the beginning? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yep.
If not one, even more so now.
Yep.
Even
more so now, man, because you know, it's a compounding effect of living with each other or building life with each other. If all you learned was to live with your wife, you're a dumbass motherfucker. But if you experience the compounding effect of building with your life, then you'll never speak of your wife that way. You'll speak of your wife very highly. Not as some boring relationship you have. It's boring because you lived and tolerated living with her. You need to wake the fuck up. Yeah. It has nothing to do with your wife.
I kicked the guy in the dick about that. And I said, I'm looking forward for the day that I'm lived with my wife.
That's right.
More than half my life.
That's right.
And he just couldn't fucking put that together.
No, he can't, because awareness.
Yes.
And that's the first step. And so we talk about Warrior Week. People say, yeah, what is that thing? Yeah, well, what is that thing is the thing that you refuse to investigate and figure out what it is. It's a thing that triggers you because it actually holds a mirror and says that you suck ass at taking a stand for your wife. And it's not the cars or the house and the jewelries and your submission to your wife that defines a stand for your wife. There's already a problem if you submit to your wife. We have a serious fucking manhood problem. We're not going to open that chapter.
That's the next couple of weeks, Coach. We got it. We got another one coming. But, you know, again, the biggest takeaway that you should be taking right now is, where are you poor in your life? Where are you having lack of awareness? And where do you need to recognize and realize and step the fuck up? Where are you hiding from it? You know, and if this is something that's resonating with you right now and you're realizing, oh, fuck, I'm asleep. I'm fucking asleep right now. I'm asleep in my business. I'm asleep with my wife. I'm asleep with my kids. I'm asleep in my relationship to God. Well, we got a fucking application for you. Fill out that application.
Come on down.
Yeah.
You know, I know a guy that taught me this. Is just come on down. Yeah. Come down to Warrior Week. Put yourself to test. With, you know, all your knowledge, put it to test and ask yourself, is it enough what you already know? Or do you really want to know more about yourself?
You know, the best definition I've heard to date of Warrior Week was right now when you talked about awareness. This is fucking what opens you up to true awareness. It's not a physical beatdown. It's everything with an awareness fucking opener.
100%. In other words, wake the fuck up, man. Like, wake the fuck up. That you're asleep in your current comfort area of knowledge. That you know enough about your wife, you know enough about your kids, you know enough about your work, you know enough about your body, you know enough about God, and you know enough about the future, and you know enough about your surrounding, you know enough about your family, and everything is good, and you're blessed, and you're thankful, and you had some pain, and you got it all figured out, and you're humble enough, and yet you don't do anything. That's somebody that's asleep.
You got to wake up.
I was that guy. You were that guy.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not like we're preaching from the choir. I mean, literally, we were that guy. We were that guy 3 months ago. We were that guy a year ago. We were that guy 2 days ago. You don't have to come to Warrior Week every minute by the minute, but you go through it initially. And what it does develop a investigating character of not falling asleep, man. You can't fall asleep in your marriage. You can't fall asleep inside of the relationship you hold with your wife and be okay with living with her. You got to build life. You can't be okay in just watching your kids grow up and say, oh, we have great, be okay with memories. They're gone. What are memories?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to build. You got to build. You got to build, and you got to be okay with doing the mundane work. So remember, follow us on IG, warriorweek.com, Warrior Week Podcast. And until next time, thank you. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Quit on your wife, quit on your kids, quit on your desires. It's okay to be okay. Manually putting the fucking blindfold on yourself. Tonight, you're gonna find out what power is.